Here we have yet another story of a Japanese gamer who falls asleep while playing a game and then finds himself in the world of that game. Only this time our protagonist is an 8-foot-tall skeleton equipped in expensive armored drip. Just like our protagonist of Overlord, he ended up becoming the very avatar he used to be while playing the game. But unlike Einzel Gown, he isn't planning on world domination, so we're cool. Anyway, he wakes up in the game world, tests out his overpowered skills and even his lightning-fast sword, but gradually begins to understand that he may be stronger than he's supposed to be. The man gets a little hungry, then tries to use his teleportation spell to basically instant transmission his way somewhere else, but he can't because he first has to be somewhere else to be able to teleport there. Then, after taking a little peek in the river, our protagonist decides to keep his face hidden under the helmet because he knows just how much society discriminates against walking skeletons. He also starts referring to himself as Ark. Well, that was his name in the game, after all. With this, he goes to the nearest city, walks around, realizes that he better get himself some money because that bread ain't cheap, and also comes across an elf in a dark alley. He's intrigued and tries to follow her, but she just disappears. Though while he was trying to follow her, he ends up right in front of an adventurer's guild and braces himself to get registered. He's ready to start making some money, but looks like he needs to slay 3 beasts, monsters, or bandits because that's the requirement to get a license. Later, when he's done slaying a bull boar and an orc in the forest, he witnesses a group of bandits about to assault and abuse 2 young girls. First, he isn't quite sure what to do since he's outnumbered, but considering the nature of the situation he steps in, destroys them, and then burns their bodies. No hesitation whatsoever. As for the 2 girls, it's a noble lady named Lauren and her maid, Rita. While they dress themselves, he conveniently loots everything the bandits left and then accompanies the girls back to town. Of course, he gets his adventurer's license and also enjoys a good meal from the precious money he stole from the dead bandits. He's aware that this is going to be his new life from here on out, and he's already enjoying it. The following day, he picks up a quest, which is basically to safeguard a young girl named Marka as she goes about collecting some medical herbs. Once he gets there, his client seems unusually hasty, but it turns out she just doesn't want her mom to find out that she's out there collecting herbs. Not because she's a bad parent, but just because she's become rather overprotective since her father died. During this, they encounter a wounded but cute fox-like creature who is then healed by Ark. This little guy develops an affinity towards Ark, so much so that Ark decides to name her Ponta and adopts her as if she's a Pokemon. Meanwhile, Marka's mom realizes what her girl has been up to, how she's out of the village, albeit collecting herbs, and her anxiety starts to go through the roof because there have been major talks about a particularly fearsome monster who lurks about in the forest. But she need not be concerned because Ark is with her daughter. When Marka and Ark are about to get their hands on the medicinal herbs around a certain tree, it's revealed that the tree is the monster's domain. Speaking of the monster, it's a massive basilisk. Kind of ugly though, because nobody likes massive green reptiles when they just want to get some medical herbs. Though, as I said, Ark is with her, so there's no need to worry. He quickly kills the massive basilisk and leaves Marka speechless. He then asks her that this will be their little secret. Ark also notices a magic ring on the dead monster, but it fades away now that the monster is dead. The herb hunt continues, and soon enough they return to her village together with a giant boar, who then everyone feasts upon. Ark and Ponta bid farewell to everyone and return. Subsequently, a group of people manage to slay another basilisk. They're quite proud of themselves, but that confidence turns into self-doubt when they come across the corpse of the one Ark slayed. They're amazed how, unlike them, this one was just killed in a single strike. Absolutely phenomenal. Then, another day, another job. This time, Ark is having his way with some bandits in a cave, especially savoring all of their treasure. As this goes on, it's revealed that the rescue of the noble lady and her maid was a surprising twist of fate. She was going to be assassinated by those bandits for the sake of disrupting the kingdom. The man who ordered her assassination is a man named Triton, and his son, Udalon, runs an illegal slave market, or something along those lines. So a disgusting human, all around. Cutting back to our protagonist, when he finally comes out of the cave, he's attacked by a gorgeous elf and is also accused of abducting elf children. But when she notices Ponta is with him, she realizes that a man who walks around with a Pokemon can't be all that bad, right? Just kidding, guys. It's actually like this. Ponta is a forest spirit creature, and since these creatures are particularly picky with whoever they trust, she understands that she was wrong. However, after seeing her all stressed, Ark offers to help her find those kidnappers, but she declines the offer. Still, he decides to follow her around anyway. She's the elf that he saw in the first episode after all, so she's gotta be important. Soon enough, they discover the kidnappers who were abusing the elf children. It's that man's son and his men, the guys who run a slave market. The elf kills most of them herself, but is forced to to stop when Udalon uses the kids as hostages to threaten her. This makes her turn weak, and things are about to go horribly wrong for a moment there, but Ark finally steps in, defeats Udalon, and saves the day. All of them are then killed, and the elf kids are healed and freed by Ark. Our elf girl is surprised by his strength, and she seeks out his help to save more elves who have been enslaved. Ark obliges, and they travel to the town of Diento. Here they meet Ariane's friend named Donka. Donka thinks Ark is sus, but can't ignore the fact that Ark managed to gain the trust of not just Ariane, but also a forest creature like Ponta. Plus, he can use teleportation, which is pretty handy. Anyway, Ark excuses himself to do something personal, but it's just him taking off his helmet and eating the food without worrying about what others may think. Ariane, on the other hand, gives Donka a short little recap of what happened, how she failed to save the kids, but thanks to Ark's help, they were saved. She also ends up comparing herself to her older sister. Later, they set out to go free some elves, unaware that someone is watching them. Once they reach the warehouse where the slave business was taking place, they're all pleasantly surprised to see how the perpetrators have already been killed. The one responsible is a beautiful ninja girl with cat ears. This excites every otaku bone in Ark's body, which is a lot of bones since he's a skeleton. And just like Ariane and Donka, she decides to trust Ark as well because, well, Ponta. So she gives him a list of the people who have been buying these elves and also informs him about the other elves who are in the custody of Lord Triton himself. She goes on to state that she is just an assassin. Her goal was something else. She just happened to save the elves. Ark and Ariane then leave to free the slaves held by Triton, and Donka trusts Ark and leaves it to them. After arriving at the castle, they cause some ruckus, but easily manage to capture both Triton and his son. Karma enters the chat because the two elves who were being sexually abused by them now get the chance to have their revenge. Ark, however, was more interested in that juicy, lusty treasure. He finds the stuff and keeps it to himself again. But he makes sure to ensure Ariane that he's only doing it because he doesn't want them to use the funds to rebuild their slave organization. Though, unexpectedly, this place is nuked, but who cares? They already saved the elves. Ariane asks Ark if he'd like to come visit the land of elves. He can if the elder elf gives him permission. But this sounded like bad news to Ark. He knew he would be found out. So he decides to come clean by removing his helmet. He tells Ariane how he's like this because of a certain curse. Ariane is sympathetic. She assures him that elves are pretty good at keeping secrets, and maybe the elder elf has an idea of how to fix it. Meanwhile, the king of Olav gathers his sons and daughters to see the fuss about these slavery rumors. It could be bad because the king doesn't want to break the human-elf peace treaty. After thinking about it for a minute, they decide to get in touch, but what the king doesn't know is the hidden agendas of his sons. His daughter is kind of aware, though. She knows that one of them is actually involved in the slave business, while the other just wants to expose him because of royal politics. The daughter seems like a good person, though. She wants things to go well and begins her own preparations. Going back to the main characters, Ark and Ariane finally reach the land of elves. It was deep into the forest. There, Ark meets the elder, who is actually Ariane's father. He also meets her mother. They thank Ark for helping their daughter save the elves, but since the problem keeps getting bigger and bigger, Ariane and her father leave for the elven capital called Maple. They want to talk about this matter with the elders as soon as possible, and while they're away, Ariane's mother keeps Ark busy by having a lot of sparring sessions with him. She wants to know if he's strong enough to keep her daughter safe, and looks like he isn't, because this mom keeps beating him every single time. This was eye-opening to Ark. He finally understands how his high stats mean nothing if he isn't skilled and experienced enough to properly use them against other skilled individuals. Ariane and her father talk to the elders about the situation and how humans are using elves as slaves, but they really don't want to risk a war with the humans, which is why the best course of action seems to be to continue saving them in secret. Ariane is then told that her sister is going to get married. This catches her off guard, but she knows that unlike her, she's never going to get married. Ironically, the next time we see Ariane is when she walks in on Ark taking a bath. He is skull and bones, while she herself is in all of her naked elf glory. Still, even though she was the one who walked in, she blasts Ark away because him being all bones caused her to panic. Well, it may have been awkward, but hey, at least they're getting closer. Moving on, her father officially appoints Ark as her helper. He also genuinely wants to help him cure his curse, which is why the elder tells him about a pool of magic that may heal him. However, he'll have to go all the way to the territory of the Dragon Lords and walk through the most dangerous dragons in the world. That's how he'll find the spirit tree and then the magic pool. Sounds like quite the hassle, which is why he starts wondering if the story he himself made up is actually true. Is it really the curse. So he tries using a curse-breaking spell on his right hand and is surprised to see that his right hand momentarily returns. Bingo! Yes, he's cursed, and that magic pool can definitely make him human again. After this, he and Ariane head to the kingdom's capital whilst hunting slave owners on the way. Though during their travels, they're warned about haunting wolves who enjoy attacking travelers. Then there is the king's daughter. Her name is Juliana, and right now she's on her way to Limbolt, a city that has close ties with the elves. Her elder sister is married to the ruler of this place, and so she wants some insights on their current situation. Back to Ariane and Ark, she seems like she's ready to hunt down some of those wolves because a bridal veil made from their fur would look, quote, real good on her sister. And sure enough, they're welcomed by the wolves sooner than later. Ark is immediately intrigued when he sees a magic ring on their leader. It's just like the one he saw on that basilisk. He ends up destroying the ring, which somehow causes the wolves to basically just excuse themselves, I believe. This confirms Ark's suspicion that the rings are what's causing the monsters to behave suspiciously. Ariane, though, is already getting some of their fur. As this goes on, Ponta senses some trouble in the air. He takes Ark somewhere, but they're already too late. The king's daughter, her maid, and her guards have all been killed by assassins. The assassins were still there, and so they tried to attack Ark, but his armor was more than enough to keep them at bay. He easily kills them, even the wolves show up to help. Though, what happened next was basically cheating. Ark uses a rejuvenation spell on the king's daughter and her companion, and just like that, they're brought back to life. He sneaks away before they fully retain their consciousness. He ends up overthinking what he did, if using a spell to resurrect the dead was even the right thing to do. Moving on, they reach the capital city of Olaf, and also come across the cat-eared ninja girl. Her name is Chiome, and she's part of the Jishin clan. Right now, she's an evangelist wandering around in search for members of her clan that have been taken captives by humans. During their talk, she ends up questioning Ark about his knowledge of the word ninja. The founder of their clan, a man named Hanzo, is the one who came up with this name, so it doesn't make sense for a random person like Ark to know. This little piece of information leads Ark to believe that the founder of the clan must have been a Japanese guy, especially since his name was Hanzo. Chiome then requests their help, and Ariane gives her a thumbs up. Elsewhere, the king's son, who's involved in the slave trade, doesn't like the fact that his sister wasn't killed by the wolves or the assassins. As for the gang, Chiome wants the other two to make a big scene while attacking a certain slave market so that she can use the commotion as an advantage to invade other markets. She also introduces another ninja named Goemon. At this point, Ark has started seeing the pattern, how Hanzo used the names of famous ninjas from back in Japan in his clan. Though unlike Chiome, Goemon isn't a cute girl. He's a massive, bulky man, almost the same size as Ark. The two of them first try to challenge each other, but then quickly become best buddies. Even when invading the market, they try to see who can take out more guards. But boys being boys, they go overboard. Chiome and Ariane simply watch. The king's evil son is told about the attacks on the slave markets, so he ends up sending more soldiers to tighten up security, but they were no match for the girls. Ariane and Chiome continue freeing more and more slaves. Goemon was doing exceptionally well, so well that he decided to send Ark to join the girls, because he was enough to hold off the reinforcements. They succeeded in freeing the beast people. However, neither Ark nor Ariane, nor even Chiome, could have imagined the sorry sight they were about to see next. In their search, they come across a cell full of corpses of slaves who were left to rot because they were either old or ill. A few survivors still remained, and this was the last straw. Ark instantly teleports the survivors to somewhere safe and then goes back to face off against the incoming soldiers together with Goemon. But this time, he was genuinely enraged. The man lets loose, completely and utterly destroys the slave market and slays all the soldiers. It was pure destruction. Once this is done, they hold a proper funeral for the dead slaves. It was simply too sad, but they now know just how important it is to save the slaves as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the king's other son succeeds in getting his brother assassinated. He also puts the blame of Juliana's disappearance on his dead brother. He's now the only heir to the throne. Juliana, on the other hand, finally reaches Limbolt. She's told about her evil brother's death, but also knows that it was probably the other brother who was responsible, not just for his death, but also for her attempted murder. This causes her to be smart and keep her survival a secret. At least for now. Subsequently, Ark and Ariane decide to go to the Holy Revlon Empire because they had purchased many slaves from the local slave markets. Well, that's what Chiome says. The Emperor of Revlon is aware of the disturbance in the kingdom, he likes it and wants more of it. He also also sends his agent named Fumba to go stir up some trouble. Ark and Ariane keep moving forward. They come across Wyrens, and then a village. Through it all, Ark couldn't help but notice that Ariane is kind of nervous. Once he asks her about it, he learns that the reason behind her anxiety is that the slave business is actually legal in the Holy Revlon Empire. This is why she's a little scared to go there, afraid of what she may find. As they are staying in the village, they meet an elf named Carsey, who's part of the village and studies monsters for a living. He can see that Ark is strong, which is why he asks the guys help in catching some monsters. In return, he'll give them a map of Revlon. Ariane thinks about how Carsey coexists with humans. She doesn't know if she herself would be up to it. Anyway, they drink some, and it's revealed that our adorable elf is a pretty bad drunk. She is chaotic. Come next morning, all the villagers think that she and Ark were going wild in the bed all night long. Anyway, while she recovers from her hangover, Carsey and Ark are out there catching monsters. A massive worm attacks them, but Ark defeats it. It was definitely abnormal in size and also had a ring on itself. Later, Carsey talks to Ariane about how he also used to hate humans, but he changed his mind after seeing the city of Limbolt. Humans and elves coexist there, and it's wonderful. Also, about the abnormal size of the worm. Looks like it's the Emperor's agent Fumba. He's been feeding slaves to the monsters, which is causing them to grow unusually large in size. He also abducted some villagers, all on the Emperor's word. Be that as it may, Ark and Ariane reach the border to search for the captured elves. They part ways to cover more area, and when Ark hears about the strange cries that can be heard coming from a certain fortress at night, he realizes that this is where they should be looking. He also ends up rescuing a girl from getting kidnapped. She's kind of cute and also very fond of Ark for saving her, but if there's someone who doesn't like it, it's Ariane. Though, about the kidnappers, they were working for Fumba to get some people who can then be fed to monsters. And since they couldn't kidnap anybody, he feeds them to his tiger. Going back to the fortress, it's revealed that the slaves were brought here about 4 months ago. There's an underground chamber and everything. They invade and look, but end up encountering Fumba himself. Seeing him, Ariane attacks, but he somehow tricks her into thinking that she is just training with her sister. It was mind control. But Ponta and Ark help free her from it. Fumba then talks about how he's able to make monsters obey him. Ark then asks him about the elves, to which he replies that they were either used for experiments or as nourishment for his pets, and again, that was it. Ark had been enraged. He ruthlessly kills the man's prize tiger and then destroys all of his other supposed pets too. Ariane appears to be in danger, but Chiome suddenly shows up, uses her water ninjutsu, saves her, and then declares that members of her clan have already taken care of the other monsters. Fumba was completely and utterly defeated. Or so we thought. Truth be told, his greatest monster was still lying dormant. So, just before he flees, he states that his greatest monster is about to wake up. Ark then teleports them all outside of the fortress, where they witness a massive 5-headed hydra. It attacks them with fire breath, but Ark uses his shield to protect them. He decides to stay behind to keep the hydra engaged, while the others go after Fumba. Ark summons an infernal demon to fight the hydra, while the girls bait Fumba into attacking, and then uses a fiery sword to light him on fire. In the end, Ark's infernal demon also uses flames to destroy the enemy. Both Fumba and Hydra get consumed by flames. Subsequently, Princess Juliana meets Ariane's father and another elder. They talk about what happened, and she sincerely states that her kingdom will take responsibility for the slave trades. They'll defend elven territories, locate the slaves, rescue them, and do whatever it takes to ensure the safety of the elves. This was great to hear, and so the elves decide to support her succession to the kingdom's throne. Ariane also learns of this development, but she starts wondering about what she should do next. Both Ark and Chiome tell her to just relax a little bit. And the king's son is pissed. Not only because his only sister is alive, she actually succeeded in negotiating with the elves. And this was bad news to him. The Emperor of the Holy Revlon Empire was so pissed too because Fumba and his monsters were violently destroyed. Just before the story ends, Chiome gets a look at Ark's actual face. But we all know that nothing has ended for any of them. Their travel continues. Besides, Ark still has to go to the land of the Dragon Lords to get a human body. Yep, that's right. The story continues in the light novel. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.